AI is legit, but it's been here for a long time. You'll hear opinions like AI is going to replace people. It's ready. It's here. What I'm noticing that it's got a lot of flaws, and that there's a lot of opportunities for it to improve certain things. And the biggest, I would say, misunderstanding of it is like, oh my God, it's here to replace all of our people. It is not. It's to make our people more efficient. Now we're in the age of innovation, and we're in the age of efficiency. So you will see people that aren't really interested in doing great work be eliminated. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to a very special episode of the Tech Leaders Playbook. Today, I will be a guest on my own show, which is kind of funny. And we're doing our first in-person one. Yeah. And with the one and only Nicholas Natali, my man, the guy that does all the great work behind the scenes. And I don't know how much credit you get or don't, but you're the man. So appreciate you being here. And as you know, I don't like just talking. And so when we came up with this idea, we wanted to do it like this, where it's a more of an interview session, and you ask me whatever questions and we go at it. Yeah, I love it. And I'll give you my opinions. Let's do it. Let's dive right in. So this episode is going to be about the lessons you've learned from your previous guests. Yep. Which we've had over 30 now, I think, or at least that's how many episodes, 30 plus. Yeah. So let's dive in. Out of all these great minds, can you share one of the most impactful lessons that you've learned from your guests? If you notice, Nicholas, like the show became very eclectic, right? The idea was to be Tech Leaders Playbook, and it started with CTOs and VPs of engineering and AI folks, but you've noticed it's very quickly evolved to just people that are leaders, and we've had NFL coaches, the first ever woman NFL coach. We've had NBA coaches. Yeah. We've had, soon we're going to have Meta World Peace. That's right. We're working on, and we've had CTOs. So what I've learned is leadership is leadership, right? And people are people. Often you hear people will say, well, not in my industry or not in my company. Oh no, it's different in our industry. And the truth is it's not accurate. Mm-hmm. And all these people, all they validated was that's it, right? Yeah. That, people are people. They all have the flaws. They all have the issues and challenges, but they have families and they're human, and we need to deal with them as humans. So that's a big lesson across the board. And of course, risk taking is huge. A lot of these folks are entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. Staying power is big. Mm. You hear me talking about that a lot, and you notice some of these startups, they talk about how they struggled like hell for 2-3 years. Like they had like 8 customers for the first year, and they almost gave up, and how they kept going, and now they're huge success stories. But again, a lot of that is under the radar and people don't see it. Yeah. I liked Mike's analogy of the hockey stick. Uh-huh. And that feels very true of like, oh, we're struggling. And then something clicks. Yes. And it takes off. But to your point about leadership too, there is a common theme, because just so people know, I listen to all these episodes too, because, I have to edit them and see what's going on. There is a core theme of leaders are putting people at the center, and it could just be a difference in their style of doing so. So an example I'll give is Adrian Kohler, a very early episode. Yes. He was talking about asking the right questions to get to people's wants and motivation. Like, why do you like to wake up late? He says it all weird or backwards in some way, so people think about it. Yeah. And then, in Jen Welter's episode, the NFL coach, she's saying that I need to find this person's motivation, because I know that they might not be money motivated. Yeah. They might be, performance motivated, or maybe they just need more time with their spouse or all these other things. And I think that's like a crucial part of entrepreneurship that we're uncovering on the show, is how do you get to the core of people to lead the team that you have, what motivates them? Absolutely. One size does not fit all. Mm-hmm. That's another one, right? So people will try to kind of make general statements, or they'll read a book and they'll try to apply general strategies to people, and people are people. Yeah. They're not computers. And so applying a general rule does not work, especially when you have high performing people, highly intelligent, hardworking, but they have lives behind, beyond these offices. And so it's incredibly important to try to be as one-on-one with people as possible. And that's challenging, but extremely worth it. Another funny lesson that I've learned is that, man, like, entrepreneurship is exhausting, and being a leader is a lot of times thankless in many ways and challenging. I had a funny conversation with my nephew the other day, and he's like, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to work until 40, and then I'm going to start my own business. I'm going to chill out." And I started laughing. I was like, that's hilarious, man. Like, you're going to work harder than ever. But I just want to work like 3 days a week. I was like, good luck with that. Let me know how it turns out. But these are some of the misperceptions, like, when I become a leader, I'm going to take it easy. What world are you going to be a leader in? So these are all the things that I've had validated through these amazing guests.
Yeah. I gotta ask the question, if one-on-one is the key to this, your team's growing. Yeah. How do you carve out that time? And I think another note that I want to say before you dive into that question is, you're so right about who wants to follow a leader that isn't going to put the work in themselves, especially if they're building the leader's idea. Yes. But let's answer the first question.
Great question. So the question was, in a growing organization, how do you do that? How do you have that one-on-one connection?
Yeah.
Couple strategies, right? As a CEO, hopefully what you're doing is you're creating a great leadership team around you.
Yeah.
You are creating similar strategies and mindset. And so what happens is your message is actually translated into your leaders doing the same for their teams. At one point, I don't say impossible, but it becomes more and more challenging for you to do it one-on-one.
Yeah.
With all those people consistently. It's not a one-time thing where you do it, you check a box, you say, I did it. Like the book says, you have to do it all the time. It's an ongoing thing. So it is almost impossible to do it as your organization grows. So if you have a 600-person organization, how are you going to find the time to do that, right? It's very difficult. So what you do is you do it for your leadership team. It's the 2, 3, 5, 10 people that report to you. And then hopefully they believe in the same process and they do it with their team. And you take every small opportunity you can to connect with people on a human level when you can. Not because you need to.
Yeah.
Even if you have a great leader under you who does do all these things, there's nothing stopping you from, at a company retreat, grabbing someone and just saying, "Hey, Nicholas, how you doing? I heard some great news. What's cooking in your world? Like, that's amazing. How did you come about that?" And just for person to know that they're noticed, that they're appreciated, that you care about them as a human being. So again, it's not something you have to set up on your calendar necessarily. It's something you hopefully do organically because you genuinely are curious about how your people are doing.
Right.
So you take every opportunity to connect on a human level. In the meantime, do it with your direct team and then push down that vision across the organization.
It's a great note. Got to be present.
Yes.
Not to derail that. Yes. I don't want to jump down that lane too far. So let's go back to the lessons learned from those guests. What's something that surprised you or shocked you that you're like, oh,
yeah,
I might take that with me. Yeah, that's something.
I like that. If you remember Jen Welter, one of the things we disagreed on was motivating people. Over the years, I have learned to only hire motivated people. And so when she talked about motivating people, I said, I don't believe in necessarily motivating people, even though I'm a motivating guy and me. I've learned over the years is you hire intrinsically motivated people and just make sure you don't demotivate them.
Give them resources.
Yeah, give them everything, right? Give them, don't be an ass. That's what, demotivates people. Find ways to keep them motivated. But to hire an unmotivated person and to try to pump them up, you can do it, but it's very temporary and it just fades and it becomes, it's exhausting because I feel like you are like almost, you want it more than they do.
Yeah.
And if you want it more than they do, then it won't work. It will not work.
That's
tough.
And
history has shown that. She disagreed, and I actually really appreciated that, but she looked at it from a different angle. She looked at it as if I remember correctly, that it's a temporary demotivation. right? And it's not a forever thing. They're not a demotivated person. They're demotivated in that scenario for whatever reason. Let's say they got passed up on a promotion. Well, they're not a demotivated person. They just got demotivated about
defeated a little bit.
A little defeated and a little almost, what's the point? They don't appreciate me as much as I thought. I don't see a way up. And so how did you communicate why they didn't get that promotion? Were they part of that conversation? How can you motivate them to keep going, to continue being who they are, that it was noticed?
Yeah.
Right. And she had a lot of great ways of really understanding the human element. Is like, Nicholas, you seem down, man. Forget your performance. Like, what is it in your life it feels different to me?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I really, really admired that about her approach. And we actually didn't disagree. We disagreed on the angle. The angle was that she was talking about situations, I believe, and I was talking about just a intrinsically motivated person.
Yeah.
You have to try really hard to demotivate those people because they're monsters, they're beasts. You just have to make sure you allow them to fly.
Yeah.
Motivated people are just great to be around. They bring energy, and when they're demotivated, it does hurt, and you need to go deep and to understand why. Is it you, or has nothing to do with you?
Right.
It's a family issue or a personal issue. You just have to make sure they know that you're there for them.
Yeah, those are great notes. And especially if you're able to take someone who's motivated and then get them to demotivated, those are resilient people.
Yes.
Like, you got to really be borderline intentional with demotivating folks like that.
Absolutely, man.
How have you seen these guests influence your leadership, strategic decision making?
From a business perspective,
or both, yeah.
There's too many people to mention by name, right? But to be honest, like, the way I approach these people is, this is my PhD. So when people ask me, like, why are you doing this? They think it's from some like direct angle of lead generation or something. It doesn't work that way. In fact, when I go on those podcasts, I get turned off very quickly. So I won't go out. That Nicholas even screens the guest appearances I do, because I want to make sure that it's a legitimate show trying to teach people. So for me, this is a PhD. And so every person that I choose, I have to learn from them. And I treat them like they are my teachers, and so everything they tell me, I'm learning from.
Yeah.
Everything's a lesson. And either I've already applied those things, that's why I'm so excited about them, because they think like I do, or I'm like, ooh, that's a good angle. How do I go about doing that?
Yeah.
One of the things I applied immediately to a situation after that interview was, one of my key people was a little down for a while. Their shoulders were down. They weren't really as excited. And I took the opportunity to really understand what's going on in their personal lives, and it was temporary, and make sure that we connected, and it was very, very helpful.
Yeah.
So that alone was huge.
That's great.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, we're going to go to a specific episode here because it's on the top of my noggin. You talk about radical candor a lot, and then you were able to have that episode.
Isn't that crazy?
Was it affirming of all of the beliefs you have around radical candor?
Yes.
Or did it extend the idea even further of implementing it in a new way, or just double downing on it?
The key difference was, I looked at it as more granular, and the way that he went about it was, trying to implement strategies to have a company of feedback, a feedback culture, a two-way feedback culture, but strategically creating opportunities for them to be radically candorous.
Yeah.
And again, the idea of radical candor, people think it's, sorry, man, it's just who I am. I'm radically candorous. I'm an ass. And that's not what it is. It's about caring highly for someone and challenging them directly. And he validated all those things that hopefully I am doing that properly, and that it just becomes who you are after a while.
Yeah.
And anything less of that is not good.
Yeah.
And the key thing that I'm trying to do now, and I've always done, is try to implement that culture in the company, where it's not, so we have a great culture when it comes to top manager to employee and employee to manager. One thing that I think is still missing is feedback across the culture. peer to peer. I think that's so powerful, because what ends up happening is you see a lot of ruinous empathy. And so because everybody wants to be nice, everybody wants to be liked, everyone, wants to be the colleague everybody likes. The problem is it doesn't help them grow.
Yeah.
It's comfort. And usually comfort is the opposite of growth.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
That's what I remember most from that episode, is like opening the channels for feedback in both directions, like having radical candor from the leaders, but also having employees have the capability to say, hey, we can improve in these areas. Absolutely. Without being like, well, you're not the leader here.
Yeah.
It's like, well, we're all taking leadership in a sense of like individual responsibility.
Absolutely.
I thought that was really good.
And implementing it in the interview process. Making sure that there are growth-minded individuals, and also almost warning them as like, hey, this is our culture. Just wanted to be honest with you, and catching small things early to see if it's fixable, right? It's like, hey, I noticed that this is the angle you use. It's not really how our culture is. It's really important that you figure out a way to communicate properly and show care when you're giving feedback. Otherwise, it's something else.
Yeah. The past few episodes, I've had the pleasure of putting together some compilation episodes. So going through and pulling insights. And there's almost a segment that you do recurringly for each guest that are technical. Yeah. And it's around AI. And a lot of different opinions have come through around AI. What has been some of the major takeaways for you in the AI world, especially with how buzzing it is right now?
In addition to this show, just talking to experts in the industry, and also hearing people that are not experts that are kind of buying into the hoopla. One thing that I'm thinking is like, AI is legit for sure. It's here, but it's been here for a long time. It's just ChatGPT and Bard. They just really brought it to the main stage and made all of us AI experts, unfortunately, right? Yeah. And so you'll hear opinions like, AI is going to replace people. It's ready. It's here. What I'm noticing that it's got a lot of flaws, and that there's a lot of opportunities for it to improve certain things if implemented right, but still a lot of flaws. It's just not here yet. It's not there yet. It's here. It's just not there. Yeah. I think there's a lot of coaching it needs to get to the next stage. And so that's the one thing I've noticed. And the biggest, I would say, misunderstanding of it is like, oh my God, it's here to replace all of our people. It is not. It is not. It's to make our people more efficient. So you will notice companies are going to be smaller. Yeah. Which is interesting, right? I mean, think about 10 years ago, the bragging rights you had is how big your organization was. Yeah. Right. It's like,
still is in a lot of ways.
Still is like whether it's an ego play from the CEO, or I'm a VP and I have an organization of 600 people, and I've built like I built my empire. Yeah. Empire builder is a real thing. If you've ever read the book, what was the book? Really good book. It's got to hit me. Multipliers. It talks about empire builders, and these people that they built their empires and they were important and all this stuff. But now we're in the age of innovation, and we're in the age of efficiency, is doing less with more. So you will see people that aren't really interested in doing great work be eliminated. Absolutely. It's going to happen. Some very basic work will be eliminated. But the rest of it needs coaching. It needs a master. Right. It needs a great master. And so that's what we're trying to do internally is really use it to 10x our great people, so they don't have to do some of the laborious, boring, inefficient work that they don't enjoy doing and frankly shouldn't be doing. Yeah. Every manager that I've had that's frustrated with our sales folks or account managers or recruiters that don't document as well. And I laugh. I'm like, that you want them to do it because it's a necessary evil, but really you got to kind of understand their mindset. If they were great documenters, they were probably not great salespeople or recruiters, right? So be careful what you're looking for, because you'll hire that person to be really satisfied with their documentation, but you'll quickly realize they're just not great at the actual job you want them to do. So how can we create ways to eliminate the manual typing into the CRM or something like that, right? So we're actually working on that. I gave the green light to Melanie to start looking to work with those companies to say, hey man, we'll pay you, like give us an API into these two so they can get things done. So that's the one thing I've learned. AI is creating tremendous security issues. You know that Craig Sixta talked about this a little bit.
Oh yeah.
It's creating opportunities to scale without a lot of people. It's creating a lot of fear and a lot of misunderstandings. Like yesterday, a very smart friend of mine who runs a very successful business said, "Look, NVIDIA is here to, you won't need engineers in a year or two." And I disagree.
Yeah,
I disagree. So there's a lot of work to be done.
Prompt engineer at a minimum.
Yes,
that's a new job that's opening up.
Absolutely, everybody's a prompt engineer.
Yeah.
Our recruiters have learned to prompt engineering because that's how you, again, as a master of AI, that's how you coach it. That's how you make it be something. One of our folks here, one of the directors, created her own assistant.
Whoa.
Yeah, Melanie created an entire assistant, and this thing runs on its own and creates these really great things, and it helps her be more efficient. I think it's great.
Yeah, that's awesome. The 3 big AI lessons that I took away, and you've already mentioned most of them, was Cormac when he said, anybody that is predicting how the AI is going to affect the economy 5 years from now is like, they're guessing, like don't take any of those predictions to heart. And then Alex De Ritter, exactly what you mentioned, super optimistic view of AI. Yes. And of course you would want him to have it because he's building those agents to make people more efficient and get rid of that work. And then the last one was another one you mentioned it was either Craig Sixta or Kevin Marcus, where they mentioned that you could, like, AI could be so smart to talk to you about, like, hey, your Netflix bill is overdue and you need to pay this right now. And you can apply that to anything, like, hey, your utilities bill is overdue and now you're out.
Yes.
X amount.
Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy. I mean, I guess this is like the moral dilemma of all advancing technology. There's always like the great side of how productive and efficient things can be, and then the downside of people who abuse it.
Huge.
Yeah.
Look at smartphones, right? What are the opportunities it's created? It's become our everything. It's become our travel agent. It's become our GPS system. It's become,
clocks.
Our alarm clocks. It's become our music. It's become our pictures, our weather. There's so much power in this damn thing. But with that comes a price we've all paid, right? I mean, you see our kids typically are, more sad than ever, right? Yeah. Because they don't know how to communicate on a human level. If you've ever hung out with teenagers, they're hilarious. They sit next to each other and they text each other. I'm like, hey, what's going on? You guys aren't having a good time? It's like, no, we're great. I'm like, who are you texting? I'm texting him. Why don't you guys just talk? It's crazy. It's created this really, really tremendous awkwardness. And AI's got some really scary things. Like in certain ways, man, you can apply it right now. And even if it doesn't work well, who cares, right? Yeah. It's like, it's an automation tool, for example. No big deal. Mm-hmm. The worst thing to do is it embarrasses you because it reaches out to someone and you're like, oops, sorry, man, it was AI,
Yeah.
But what if, now there's this whole thing where you could talk to an AI therapist.
Whoa.
It's insane. There's startups that have pitched me. I'm really into it, but some of my friends have warned me. It's like AI experts are like, this could be really deadly because it could give you great advice 99.9% of the time.
Yeah.
And that 1.1% of the time, if it gives you the wrong advice, it could kill you.
Yeah. Think about vulnerable at your worst state.
Absolutely. Because it's become your friend and it's never done you wrong. And it's the only thing that understands you. It's the only thing that confidentially keeps your information.
Yeah.
But what happens if that point one time it says, you probably should commit suicide? I think that's a logical thing.
Yeah.
This is the kind of power AI has. And so we have to be really very careful with psychedelic type of things, and these are scary. You got to think like, what's the worst thing that can happen? If the worst thing that happens is you send a dorky email to someone, or you make even this, you have to eliminate a person because that person's just no longer needed. That's okay. That person will go find something great. Yeah. Not as big of a deal. Now, if you're eliminating someone's life potentially, or you're ending a relationship, it's like, yeah, you should leave this individual. It's like, whoa, because it's logical. It could change people's lives towards the worst. So I'd be very careful.
Yeah. The emotional side
Huge.
It seems like there's going to be a steeper learning curve for something that hasn't ever experienced emotions to catch up to speed on.
Well, just think about what our kids get all of their information from. The internet. Like where TikTok, where are they getting their clothing, their music? It's all based on unreal kind of expectations of the world. These aren't real people technically, right? Yeah. These influencers, these things just aren't real.
AI influencers, a big market right now, which is wild to me. And it's like there's accounts where people know it's all AI like influencers.
Yeah,
they still are shelling dough to donate to their Patreons and such. Nuts. It's so crazy.
It's nuts.
Freaks me out.
Nicholas, the one thing you said about Cormac, he was dead on, right? Like it's the more you know, the less you know.
Yeah.
Right. And you'll see some random person is an expert in AI who's never, opened a computer yet. You talk to an AI expert, they're like, I don't know what to predict. I mean, what do you mean?
Yeah, you're doing it every day.
You're doing it every day. It's like, we just don't know. We don't know the power of where AI will be in 3, 4, 5 years, right? There has to be some changes, government level, that's important. Or are they going to just let it go? If they're just going to let it run, it's going to create some insane challenges for us all, but there's also a lot of excitement. Like Alexander said, like 4-day work weeks. It's incredible.
Sounds awesome.
Sounds amazing, man. For me to enjoy my family more, it's amazing for my people to enjoy their families more or travel. That would be the opposite of burnout,
Yeah, that would be great.
So let's do it. Let's find ways.
Yeah. What's a lesson that you've taken that's had like the best ROI for your business? Like, is there a piece of advice that you've put directly into the business and like, oh, dang, this is actually giving me a good bang for my buck here?
For me, investing in people is always worth the bang, right? Yeah. The money. Always, always, always. So focusing on people at a deep level. I think with AI replacing so much of what we do, the only thing it will not replace is our ability to connect on a very deep level with a human being.
Yeah.
Not a surface level. Absolutely, it will do that.
Yeah.
But at a very truly deep level where you're understanding someone and only you are giving them what they need. That's all that's left. If you remove that, we are going to be replaced. Most of us. Let's just be honest. Besides roofers and I don't know, plumbers. They've got great jobs for a long time. But I think that's huge. Continuing to understand people at a deep level and really doubling down. I think in a world where we're all multitasking and doing so many things, we're not present.
Yeah.
We're not present for our people. We're not present for our families. We're not present for our friends. And if you've ever noticed, if you've ever gone out, you're a pretty present guy. I really appreciate that about you. If you ever went and were present, like your phone died. It's like next level, man.
It's like a form of meditation.
It is meditation. You're like, why am I enjoying being around these two friends that I just saw a few days ago? It's because you're kind of in it, right? Like, why am I really enjoying my family today? It's like, well, because your phone's not near you. Oh my God. So it's like, that's huge, I don't know how we got into this, but like, staying connected and deep, even if it's for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Even if it's a vendor. Stay engaged for 15, 20 minutes. Create, I don't know if you've ever had a day where you only had like 4 hours instead of 8, how efficient you were. Maybe shorten the meetings and just really focus in on that hour, that 20 minutes is all about that individual, and try to really connect at a deep level is huge. Otherwise, everything is half-ass. I mean, I notice when I do trainings and some of the people are remote, it's not the same. They're multitasking. I could see an email or two going out, and I don't blame them. I do it too. I'll pay for an amazing event, and if it's remote, I'm kind of just
doing my emails a little bit.
Yeah, I'm getting a little done here. Yeah, I'm getting a little done here, a little done there, because I feel efficient. Look how much I'm getting done. You're really not getting much done.
Yeah,
you could knock all of those things out in 15 minutes after the meeting. Yeah. Just focus in the moment. Stay in the moment. Think about the human. Listen to them. Challenge them, at a much deeper level, and you get so much more out of your life, I think. And trust me, I have to be way better at this. I am a supreme multitasker. Supreme.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, it's a survival tactic because I have so much going on. but it's draining, man. It is exhausting.
Yeah. I was going to say that's like the nature of entrepreneurship is wearing 3 or 4 hats at once.
3 or 4. I tried 12. You know?
If you can find the pocket of deep work or hit the flow state once or twice a day,
that's all you need.
Yeah.
That's all you really need to make an impact. The rest of it is just filler crap.
It really is. Evitas, do you have any closing thoughts as we take this collection of wisdom from all these different guests and lessons learned? Because there's nuggets in every episode.
Yes.
Like going through all of them, I mean, we got, was it Backbox?
Mm-hmm.
He talked about customer service. That was big. And you had this really insightful moment where you're like, how do you provide exceptional customer service in a way that's just like you just not being a good person? And let me clarify that better.
Yeah.
You're saying because you're a good person, you're naturally going to want to do the right thing.
Yes.
But what are some systems you can put in place for customer service?
Yeah.
It's very insightful.
Interesting.
That was a good one to tune back into. So any of those types of lessons that are top and noggin right now that we haven't uncovered?
I mean, for me, honestly, the most powerful, I think, lesson is just staying in the moment. I mean, that's my closing statement. As far as the customer service goes, that's the first thing that's eliminated, if you notice, right? The first thing people are doing is they're AIing their customer service and sales, let's say. Customer service is not something you should be AIing.
Yeah.
Or sales, but don't AI your customer service. You know that. I mean, I get frustrated as a customer of a software company that says, "Oh, please put in a ticket." I'm like, "No, I'm not putting in a ticket. You know, I'll put a ticket out of your product if you don't solve my problem, man. I need high engagement. You know, I pay everything I do in life. I people ask me budgets and like price, and I'm like, no. And they get really frustrated. It's like, I don't care about those things. It's value. I do care about price, but for me, it's value. And so by eliminating that, so you can save money and not hire real client success managers, I think is the biggest, stupidest things you can do. It's a big mistake. As a startup, your customers are everything, man. If you have raving fans, you will always make it. Mm-hmm. Somebody will rave about you. They'll help you. They'll do whatever it takes. They'll stay on. They'll scale. They'll be with you when they're tempted to move on, because they say, no, I don't want to risk the relationships I have with this vendor. And you're a little cheaper. And you're the new kind of kid in town that's got the shiny object. I'll just tell this guy to build that for me. I know this person. I trust them. That cannot be eliminated with AI. Yeah. Don't do it.
Yeah. My quick last little nugget on that is a mechanic. Mm-hmm. I feel like you find a mechanic you trust, you never leave them. It's a perfect example of like, I just found a mechanic I like in Santa Monica, and I'm like, this is where I'm going for the next 20 years. And
how many people are you going to refer to them?
I've already referred like 2 or 3 within the past week.
This is how it works, man. I mean, our whole business is built on referrals, on mushrooming, on repeat business. And that's why we don't have a sales, group, because we don't need it, right? Because we take care of our customers and never try to eliminate that. I mean, I'm still responding to my clients like every day. Yeah. It's extremely important for me to stay connected.
That's awesome. Evitas, thanks for being on your own show.
Thanks, man.
As for those lessons learned.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Nicholas.
Bye.
And that brings us to the end of another great episode of the Tech Leaders Playbook. I want to thank you for joining us and hope you took away some valuable insights to apply in your professional journey. Don't forget to subscribe on your preferred podcast platform so you don't miss out on the next great conversation. I promise it'll be good. If you enjoyed today's episode, we'd appreciate if you could leave us a review. Your feedback not only helps us improve, but it also helps others discover the podcast. Better leaders mean better working environments. Better working environments leads to happier people. Remember, a rising tide lifts all boats. I'm Evitas Santablian, and this has been the Tech Leaders Playbook. Keep leading, keep learning, keep giving, and I'll see you on the next one. Until then, stay inspired, my friends.